Can you hear me?
We
You can
hear
hear me
you.
now. Okay. Okay. Welcome to the April Speakers Bureau meeting. We are going to have an interesting meeting, and we will get rolling here right away. We have a person seeking their QS. I am going to be a member of the audience mostly, but we do have a couple little things to take care of. And my first thing would be to make sure we thank all those people that helped make tonight possible. And that, of course, would be not only our speakers, but the VA hospital, most especially, and Sandy Emelina for arranging us to be able to get this location. Rob Gunnerman, the tech guy, will make sure without him, we would not exist. We would not be able to perform the electronic wizardry that is being performed by us being able to speak across the world, or at least across the state of California. And so thank him. And thank Sharon Kenty for putting out the publicity, as she always does, such attractive uh, uh, flyers that she puts out. But we have our past district governor, Susan Leonard, is going to talk about, I wasn't going to do a raffle, but she's going to do a door prize for those rewarding those people who showed up in person. So she will be distributing her own form of raffle tickets and going to describe those books that you have brought to contribute. You want to do that, Suzanne?
You want me to do that?
Yeah, you announce it and mention that you'll make sure everybody in the audience gets one. That's the reward for showing up in person.
That's the reward for showing up in person, and someone who found me in the hallway and led me here is staying. Once I explained who we were, I get dibs on her first. She's coming to one of my clubs because. So the books tonight are just so sensational. One is the one when, Angie, you'll remember this, when you were district director. It is Who Kidnapped Excellence. And I have read not this version, I have a new one. You will love it. It reads like a novel, but it has a good message. And the other one is it's called Floriography, all about flowers, what they mean and where they come from and how you need to bunch them together if it's a wedding bouquet or those kinds of things. So those will be raffled off for those of you that are here in person. And so those of you who are online, nice. But those of you in person went the extra mile, and we appreciate that. Thank you, Tom.
Okay, Suzanne. And just as a reminder, she jogged me into doing this again next month. We kind of skipped a month or two in there when our attendance was light, but we're hoping with the better weather and the better traffic patterns to the location here, we will start getting a greater audience in the room. And next month, we will have 2 qualifying speakers going, and one of them is here tonight to observe the process. And one of them might probably be online. Ralph Dieter will be there, and Christine Fierro will be speaking next month if we don't get a third person seeking their QS in May. So hopefully you'll have everybody here for those voting. It's only fair to have a good showing of our qualified speakers if they're the ones that'll decide who becomes a qualified speaker in the future. With that, I think I have been verbose enough to make sure that we have enough qualified speakers in the audience, and we will pass the baton off to our co-chair and the chair for the evening. I had told him I might not be able to make it. My daughter was here visiting from Northern California. They decided to abandon us and go to Universal Studios instead of being entertained by our wonderful entertaining skills. But that's okay. I don't think I would have wanted to go anyway. And on to our past district governor, past international director, chair to run this meeting, Michael Osier. Take it away, Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Tom. Can you guys hear us in your audience there? Tom, can someone give us a thumbs up? Can you hear us? Let's assume good news over there. Thank you all for attending. A special thanks. Oh, past international director and from District 12, there he is, Greg Scott. Thanks, Greg, and thanks for looking out for me last night. Oh, and I see our current district director, Jeremiah Lyle, snuck in. We'll hear a few words from him later. Thank you for all the qualified speakers that have come tonight, because it's up to you who the next qualified speaker becomes. Ooh, pressure is on. Now, Kimberly, I have a serious introduction for Jazz, who I was going to just say it, and then you can lead the Q&A afterward. Would that be okay, Kimberly?
Sounds great.
Perfect.
so
Thank
much,
you.
Michael.
Excellent. I love the introduction of these qualified speaker wannabes. Our speaker tonight is the founder and CEO of the Mindset Evolution. As a mindset and empowerment coach, she guides individuals to their truest and most authentic selves through her transformative, evidence-based holistic coaching programs. Using her Reunite framework, she supports her clients to break free from the inner critic and external voices, allowing them to reunite with their own inner voice and calling to create a more aligned path and legacy that allows them to experience more ease, purpose, passion, and joy. With over 15 years of experience in social welfare and psychological research methods, a bachelor's degree in psychology, her insights into human psychology and mental health are unparalleled. Tonight, she will shed light on how we embrace some of the curveballs we are faced with in life, because no matter how hard we try to dodge them, sometimes they just keep on coming. At times when we feel powerless, we have more power than we think. Presenting the power of perspective, the art of living in a beautiful state, join me in welcoming Chahal. Chahal. You're on mute. Whoop, try it again. There we are. Oh,
Sorry.
now we're good.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I'll start again. Thank you. Uncertainty. Almost as comfortable as a blindfolded tightrope walk. However, today we're about to embark on a voyage to explore how some of life's twists and turns in its most unpredictable moments can lead to a life filled with more purpose, more passion, and more joy. So a show of hands if you're ready to board this ship and go on this journey with me. Fantastic. Fasten your seatbelts and get ready for the ride. Each wave we are faced with in life is really determined by the intensity of the tide. And as Franklin Roosevelt so profoundly put it, life is not a smooth sea. The skilled sailors make it through life. Amidst the myriad of challenges that we encounter in life and the uncharted waters, we can sometimes be left feeling confused, isolated, and overwhelmed. However, one fundamental element that reigns supreme is perspective. This is often overlooked and overshadowed by the everyday noise of life. And sometimes we can find ourselves desperately clutching onto a wave, waiting for the tide to pass. And not only does this impact our state of being, but it also impacts our quality of life. And most importantly, it robs us of our greatest gift of all, time. Even throughout life's hardships and adversity, through a profound shift in perspective and through making a conscious choice to embrace the beauty in every single moment, no matter how daunting or bleak it may seem, we can unlock a state that transcends far beyond the ordinary. A state that I like to call a beautiful state. So today, I invite you to awaken to the power of perspective, its transformative potential, and more importantly, its capacity to shape our reality. There have been many ebbs and flows in my life that have had immense power to shape my reality in a multitude of different ways. But I've always clung on to the belief that I can harness that power of perspective at any time to write my own story and create a life filled with more meaning, more passion, and more joy. I've then gone on to do the same for others by supporting them on their journey, revealing the true transformative power of perspective, and not only the power that it has on our lives, but also on the lives of others. In 1995, a groundbreaking study was conducted by the Centers for Disease Control and Kaiser Permanente in California, named the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study. In short, it is also referred to as the ACEs study. This study aimed to investigate adverse childhood experiences and their relationship with later in life health outcomes and overall well-being. They did that by identifying 10 different categories of adverse experiences, which included any type of abuse, domestic violence, household dysfunction, incarceration, substance use, mental illness, and parental divorce or separation. And what they found is that there was a cumulative impact between those adverse experiences and the later in life health outcomes and overall well-being, with those that had been exposed to more than one adverse experience being at an increased risk. Now, this study really hits home for me and demonstrates the power of perspective when you consider two people raised in the exact same environment. Despite being at the end of those adverse childhood experiences and having witnessed or experienced almost every single one of those in the study, me and my brother have led two entirely different paths in life. I went from believing that I was a byproduct of trauma to believing that I was born for a reason, because there are so many others in the world that don't make it this far. This shaped a massive perspective for me in which I had this relentless drive to not let the past define or shape my reality. Whereas my brother, on the other hand, spent a lot of time questioning, why me? And as he did this, he actually faced a lot of the negative outcomes later in life, everything from substance use, mental illness, and chronic disease. I realized that I could turn some of that pain into my purpose. And when I did this, I stopped looking at what was going wrong to really look at what could be done right, despite everything that was going on. And at first, I found myself just mirroring some of the emotions that my mother and brother were having, because they were in unbearable levels of pain, and I just felt helpless. But once I decided that I was going to find my purpose in all of that pain, I decided to support others on their journey through life. And the way that I did that was by helping them to honor not everything that they had gone through, but everything that they had got through. I helped them to embrace their unique intricacies and their resiliency, to unlock and unleash their own gifts into the world. And as I did this, I made sure that they felt seen, they felt heard, valued, appreciated, and above all, I told them that their light was much needed in this world. And at times when I found that individuals were trying to make sense of the past, like my brother, at the cost of the present moment, I instilled in them the belief that they could course correct at any time if they envisioned a different reality or a different future for themselves, one filled with more peace, joy, gratitude, and abundance. Someone once asked me, if you could turn back time to any day in your life, would you? That was another profound question, one that I'd like to pose to all of you. So if you could turn back time to any day in your life, show of hands if you would turn back time. I only see a few hands up. So as I reflected on this question, I decided that I wouldn't. And that's simply because I believe that all that I have gone through and got through has shaped me into who I am today and led me to exactly where I'm meant to be. Another massive shift came in my life when I realized that everything that was happening in life, there was a gift or a blessing in the moment. And once I opened myself up to this, it helped me understand that I had taken every single path that I had taken in life for a reason, and that I was born for reasons far bigger than myself. And when I realized that, that was like a lightning bolt to my soul, and I woke up to my true reality, which is that I never wanted anybody to experience levels of pain and overwhelm in a place where they felt isolated and alone. And that's when I embarked on a journey to really support others, being reminded that life wasn't happening to me, but life was happening for me. And it was up to me to do something with that. So as I started on that journey at the age of 16, I went to volunteer at a shelter for women experiencing domestic violence because my mother had been a victim. I then went on to support individuals that had been given a mental health diagnosis because my brother had faced similar struggles. After that, I began this relentless mission to become a social worker, which led me to work in the fields of suicide prevention and hospice. And along the way, I had a lot of people that told me that all of the odds were stacked against me. And I knew at that moment that I had two choices to make. I could either accept that as my truth, or I could simply defy the odds. And I stand here in front of you today as somebody that well and truly defied the odds. Despite everything that was going on in our lives, I tried to make meaning of what was happening and strived to get those good grades and use my talents and strengths in a way that was going to help me to support others and make a difference in the world. My brother had his talents and strengths and was tapping into his creative genius in a number of different ways. And in all honesty, the shenanigans just never ended, and he forever kept us on our toes. So if he wasn't forging signatures to get out of school and go on a tour of the city, we were coming home to another incident where he was in trouble with the local law enforcement. And I share this because recently my brother shared a massive shift in his perspective. On a day where I was hoping that he would wish me a happy birthday, he forgot to do that. But as I reminded him gently how much I loved him and how much I had been thinking of him during my birthday celebration, he said to me, "Often I forget my own birthday. I'm just grateful that I was born." And that's when I knew it might have taken 35 plus years, but he's finally on a journey where he is tapping into that precious gift of existence. I went on to get a bachelor's degree and 2 master's degrees and moved to the US. And now I get to serve individuals in a deep and meaningful and powerful way because of everything that I got to go through. Now, I'm not the only one that has defied the odds. You might have heard of Malala Yousafzai. Can I get a show of hands if you've heard of Malala? Okay, wonderful. Malala became an advocate for girls' education during the oppressive Taliban regime. She gained international attention when she survived an assassination attack due to her public advocacy. That didn't stop her though, because despite being shot in the head and thankfully surviving that assassination attack on her, she went on to speak at the United Nations. She founded the Malala Fund, and she didn't stop there. She became the youngest ever recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, we could say that the odds were stacked against Malala, but she has gone on to inspire and empower women and girls around the globe, becoming a symbol of hope despite the adversity and the hardships. So how many of you would agree that Malala, well and truly, defied the odds? Can I get a show of hands? Fantastic. I see a few of you with your hands up. So throughout these transformative shifts in my perspective, I developed this profound sense of gratitude for the precious gift of existence itself. And what I'd like to invite you to do now is to think back to a time when you were faced with some type of adversity or hardship. You may have seen it as a roadblock to begin with, but were you able to find a gift or a blessing or a teaching moment of some kind that allowed you to grow in some way? As you ponder on that, I want you to think about if we spent a little more time in this place of possibility and love, we could move away from a space of fear and limitation. I'd also like you to take a moment to think about when you've been able to really sit and hear another person's perspective. See them for who they are and what they stand for. See them for their truth. Embrace the journey that they've been on in their life, navigating the waves that they've been navigating. Think about that for just a moment. When we get to do that, we are able to support others in a deep, meaningful, and powerful way, which reveals that the power of perspective doesn't only allow for transformation in our own lives, but it has a ripple effect when we can go on to infuse loving kindness and compassion into the lives of others and contribute in some way. So I implore you, my dear friends, to unlock the possibilities that are dormant within your soul by embracing that power of perspective. Remember that you always hold the key. And not only will it allow you to transform your life, but maybe transform the lives of others and add more passion, purpose, and unbridled joy into your lives. I'd like to leave you now with 3 techniques for utilizing the power of perspective. The first one is to commit to having an insatiable curiosity for all things in life, and having an open mind and an open heart. That'll allow you to see the opportunities for growth and learning. The second one is to infuse compassion and empathy into your interactions with others, because it allows us to foster deep connections with one another, to build stronger communities and a more harmonious world. And the third one, cultivate gratitude for the present moment. And look for the blessings and the gifts, no matter how big or small they may seem. I promise you, they are there. And when you can embrace those, life becomes a little more happier and we feel more fulfilled. That brings us to the end of our time together and the end of our voyage. And as you go on to navigate the many different waves of life, remember that quote by Franklin Roosevelt: "A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor." I hope you've enjoyed the ride, and I look forward to joining you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Jazz. Oh, Aces is, you got to keep your video on, Jazz, because we're going to talk about you. ACEs is one of the passions when I work with Riverside County Public Health, and my team's still working tirelessly on this topic, and it's a life's work, and I really appreciate you saying that. So Kimberly, I'm going to ask you to lead through the QSs, ask them to come and say a few words about their perspective, and then if there's time at the end, we will do a Q&A if people may have questions. And so Kimberly, I'm starting you off. You got Roger right from the beginning, so call on Roger.
All right, very good. Roger, I see your hand. Please do share.
Okay, thank you. Jazz, congratulations. Great speech. Really a pleasure to watch you go for this QS, and I appreciate the speech and the content.
Thank you so much.
I hope I don't step on some of the other comments, but I just want to say excellent articulation. No ums or fillers. Well done. Good pauses, including a long pause. That takes bravery. It takes knowing that you're holding the floor. Intentional gestures, I noticed, especially at the outset, your hands didn't even come into screen, which a lot of speakers can't allow themselves to do. And you did not use your hands to distract. Intentional gestures, well done. I'm not a super fan of questions that have only one answer. So like, do you like kittens or do you prefer we run them over kind of thing, you know, but that's just me. The rhythm of your speaking is what I really wanted to mention. For this QS, it was probably perfect. It's a very metered speaking style, but every once in a while you would break into a more natural speed up when you were making an important point, slow down when you wanted to emphasize. And I loved that. That added a lot of emotion to it. So I think you did a fabulous job. I just want to mention that more natural metering that broke through once in a while really added to your speech, in my opinion. I'll yield to others.
Awesome. Excellent feedback, Roger. Thank you so very much. Is there someone else that would like to share? I see Jeremiah Lyle. Jeremiah.
Yes, thank you so much. And Jazz, I loved your speech. I love the topic. It was very on point, and you had a ton of information. And a lot of times we have speakers, they try to really kind of push through that. You really gave us time to be able to absorb that, which was great. And I appreciate that because it really allowed us to be able to kind of take in all the words you were saying. You had very purposeful hand movements. The only thing I would say is I would love to see you give this in person. I'd love to see you just own a stage. And I thought, being online, it kind of keeps you right there in that box. But you had such a presence online and a control of voice and your following. I really appreciate that. And I thought you did a fantastic job. It's a great job on a very sensitive subject at times.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeremiah, for that feedback. I see Richard Snyder next. You're on mute, Richard. We can't hear you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jazz. Wonderful speech. I thought you had, it's a very good topic. I can see this topic doing very well to outside audiences. Obviously, it's mental health is a big subject, big topic nowadays. We all probably know somebody who is struggling with mental health. I do, and I imagine a lot of others do. Couple of things. I'm not struggling personally, but I have a close family member and know some other people. I like the gestures. I really liked the closing with the 3 points. I thought that was very valuable. Take home value. Something for all of us to think about. I loved your pauses. You asked a question, and then you actually gave the audience time to think about. I think that's something we all can learn from. A few things to consider when you give a speech again. When you're delivering a speech, especially online, if you don't need them, I would take the glasses off. There is a glare, which can be a little bit distracting. As an English major, I caught a couple that you said me and my brother, and you also should always put yourself last. My brother and I is subject, or if it's an object, my brother and me. And you also said more happier. It's just happier. And at times you had some very good gestures overall, but a few times I did see that your hands were clasped and maybe not quite sure what to do with them. So I would just put them down at your side. But otherwise, a great speech, great topic, and look forward to hearing you again. I think a speech will do very well to outside audiences.
Thank you, Richard. Excellent feedback. Really enjoyed it. Dr. Michael Alexander, you're next.
Jazz, I loved your voice, your pauses, and presentation. It was magical and effective. And the accent is something which people either get scared of or they learn to use, and you used the accent well. I thought that was wonderful. I think this is a wonderful topic, and the theme of perspective is very important, and you presented it very well. But I would suggest to you a couple of things a little differently, and some of them others will disagree with me on, but you should at least hear it. I think Toastmasters in general is reaching an era of overusing gestures. And sometimes they become a little bit too dramatic and can become distracting. They're good and used in moderation, but you are leaning towards the overuse of gestures, in my opinion. The second thing I will suggest to you, and you had an important message, an important self-journey, but if you really want to be effective, I think you need to broaden it a little bit out, a little bit wider. A lot of the people I'm talking to say you want to never really be the hero of your own journey. If it becomes a little bit too much me-focused, we don't see it for ourselves elsewhere. And although you mentioned the Muslim lady, and I'm sorry, I could never pronounce her name. Wonderful story. I didn't recognize it only because it's foreign to my ears. But she's the only really place where you went into this sort of concept. And I would have liked for you to have provided us with more heroes, and particularly people who you talked with and worked with and got further along. You mentioned your brother a little bit, but not too far. So it's a wonderful speech. It's a great philosophy. Wonderful, wonderful use of voice and everything else. With a couple of changes in delivery style, I think it will be truly magnificent and world-shaking. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Michael Alexander. I also want to make sure that we acknowledge the folks at the VA give them an opportunity to share. If I could, see if there's anyone in the audience from the VA that would like to share. After following them, I will go to Randy, and I saw another hand, but I took my glasses off. Let's put those back on. And Dr. Valencia. Anyone in Loma Linda? Is that like to
Yes.
Dominique,
Hi.
that's
Is this
Dominique.
thing, yes, is this thing on?
It's on, Dominique. We can hear you.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Hi, Jazz. You were amazing. I loved your speech, and so much of what I'm taking the glasses off per some recent suggestion. So much of what you said is in alignment with my own philosophy. Like, everything you are is an accumulation of everything you've been through, which I loved. When you were in about minute 7 or so, I was worried that there'd be nothing personal. I thought, oh gosh, nothing personal. Then you got into some personal stuff. You started to talk about your brother. I would love if you could start out with a personal anecdote instead of asking us about us. I know that there's that old adage, the audience is thinking, what's in it for me? But for me, as an audience member, I like to know something about you personally. Just something like some little thing about you and your brother fighting in the car when you were little, or raise your hand if you have an obnoxious little brother, or anything, just a crumb for me to hang on to, so that I feel like I know this young lady. I could hang out with her. And then it'll be like you're putting your arm around me and I'm along for the ride. That's probably my biggest suggestion, because then later, when you talk more about yourself and your brother, I'm already there with you. And the rest of it was just lovely. And I think the advice you were just given about not being the hero of your own story is a fantastic advice, although I really did love the advice you gave. I thought it was fantastic. Anyone
Yes.
else here?
Thank you, Dominique, by the way.
Suzanne? Suzanne is coming.
All right.
One moment for the lovely and talented Suzanne Leonard.
Sitting back with our guest who led me to this room.
Okay, and here she is.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow, I feel full of wonderful information about your journey. I agree with Dom and some others who said a little more personal and in the beginning, so you invite us into your life, and then we're on the journey with you, and you can tell us where it's brought you and what your future looks like. I would have enjoyed that as well. You have a wonderful presence, and you do own your space with your posture, with your dress that was appropriate, and your voice is easy to listen to, and the pauses are a step into bravery as a public speaker. So well done. Thank you very much for being present here with us tonight on your journey.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you, Suzanne. Anyone else in Loma Linda that would like to share?
I'm in person, Connie
Yes.
Jameson. Yes, I love the suggestion from Dr. Michael Alexander about more examples, I guess you'd say. I love the story, the one you shared, but then if we could slip in just a couple of ordinary people, and they could just be given a first name, Mary or Joe or whatever, and share those with us so we'd have even more stories with which we could connect, because stories are so powerful. The other suggestion, you talked about your brother. That was very interesting. I'm not sure, I didn't hear it, perhaps you did. Did you use your brother's name? And I would suggest you using his name, and then later on, as you referenced him again, then we kind of already knew him. and you told about how he was dealing with things now more in the present. So, but other than that, great use of the pauses in your presentation and a powerful, timely subject indeed. Anyone else? Oh, I think Tom's coming.
Thank you so much, Connie. Great feedback.
I heard your Jazz, I heard your speech on Friday night, and I did something highly unusual for me in an evaluation that was overtime. For the first minute or so, all I could say was things that could be improved upon. Not necessarily the way you're supposed to do an evaluation, but I don't really have much to say about that. I loved what you did. Of course, the subject is so important, the content is so important, and it was not done in any way that would be trite. You know, the old thing, the glass is half full, and all those books that have been written and all those, this was you. This was your content coming across to an audience, and a content that if the world, more of the world used that philosophy, it would be a better place. And so one of those goals that we always say, if I want to make the world a better place, this content of this presentation is exactly what can do that, because it takes people from wherever they are to have a better attitude about their life. So if I had to make a suggestion, and I'm not just copying Jeremiah because he's my boss, because I would have loved to have seen you in person. It would be so much more effective. And I'm looking forward to being able to send you out to an in-person presentation to one of the clubs where we send speakers, because I'm sure your message will be well taken there. So much appreciated. Love the vocabulary, love the content, love your presentation, love your visual. Before that was one of the things I kind of commented on. You were good on the screen there. Too bad that the technology kind of failed you just a couple of little minutes in there, but it didn't really affect the outcome. Love what you did, and I'm looking forward to having you a member of the Speakers Bureau. And back to you.
Thank you, Tom. All right. It looks like we're going to take some quick seconds to allow the last individuals to share comments and feedback. Randy, followed by Valencia, Dr. Valencia, and last but not least, Gregory Scott. Randy, it's on you.
Okay, I'll do this really fast. Jazz, I haven't met you, don't know you, but I echo what everyone else has said. And what I wrote a lot of notes here as you were going through your presentation. And the very first thing I thought about is it's a little choppy, your rhythm. And I think somebody mentioned that throughout was just a little, almost like you're in a boat and it's kind of hitting the waves and so forth. But the information, the content, like everyone said, is just on time. Well, it's definitely needed. I love your very descriptive choice in words. Words are powerful. And so your selection and your use of the vocabulary of the English language is right on. But here's something that I've always talked about, and we've all heard it. And I think we touched on it just a little bit with a few of the comments. You have to grab that audience in the first 30 to 40 seconds. And you grab that audience by either asking a provocative or very extremely eye-catching, ear-catching question, or you use a statistic, and you go right into your story to connect emotionally. I did not feel any emotion. You were teaching, you were sharing, but the emotional connection didn't happen till you got down probably 10 minutes or more into your talk. And I didn't time it, but that's when you shared a little bit about your brother and you coming up in the same household, however. So I would consider really hooking the audience early on and opening up your story. And the other thing I would ask, and I thought about this early on, is this the way you would talk in your club? Is this the way you normally hold a conversation? Because you need to come across very conversational. And if you're not doing that, then people are going to go, wait a minute, is this person real? Can I relate to this person? So think about, is this who you really are? And if it is, you're okay. But if you need to go, maybe I need to relax and be myself, that's a really important thing, because it doesn't matter, as your communication skills are on cue, they're there, but you need to relax and really connect with the audience. And part of that is having fun, knowing your material, but also be yourself. And if this is yourself, okay, great. But if you're putting on a show for the show, that's not a good thing. And I'll leave it at that.
Awesome.
Presentation.
Great feedback, Randy. Thank you for sharing. Dr. Valencia.
Greetings, Jazz, and congratulations on a great speech. You can definitely tell that you research and study. The topic was relevant. Mental health is something that I'm sure most of us deal with. You did engage the audience, and you took your time. The way you spoke was balanced, and it was easy to understand, not too fast, not too slow. When you ask questions, some synthesis questions, analysis questions, you gave proper wait time for us to think about it before you transitioned and continued with your speech. You showed that you were interested in the topic. And as far as a note of improvement, I believe that my fellow QSs have already echoed those. But again, congratulations on a great job. I look forward to seeing this again, seeing it in person. Continue to develop your craft and find you within the heart of you. Thank you so much, and back to you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Valencia. And our last person here is Gregory Scott. Excuse me.
Thank you, Kimberly, and especially Jazz. Every good conversation starts with good listening. And part of that is helping to know your audience and how you present to us. So put your pencil down. I'm tired of you writing notes down. And I want you to know that the less we speak, the more you're going to remember. So here's 4 good points I want you to enjoy to finish this up. First of all, you allowed us to listen with understanding. And how did you do that? You educated us. You brought a subject that a lot of us are not all that familiar with it. So it showed the expertise that you carry with you and you're offering to share it. Secondly, you allowed me to leave all judgment about you behind. You allowed me to be more understanding and listen to what your message was and what it could do for us. So we suited up, we showed up, and there's some good points that you allowed us to take away. Thank you for that. Thirdly, you allowed us to be compassionate on your subject and what you shared with us, especially a sensitive subject such as this. And we are all aware of the need for better understanding, to be better citizens, to be better helpers, and to support people in that situation, to be respectful and considerate of that. And thirdly, as an audience, you allowed us to be present. You asked us to raise our hands. You asked us through your eye contact to share back the eye contact from us with good listening skills, because you have an important message for us. Thank you for your preparation and being a superstar.
Excellent. What a great way to close it out. I will just say really quickly, thank you all for your feedback for Jazz. If I can say, as her sponsor, her dear friend, mentor, Jazz has worked really hard, and we're excited to see her here. With that, I'd like to turn it back over to Michael to finish this meeting out, or at least this portion of it anyway.
Thank you, Kimberly. And as I said in the chat, for all the QSs, please send me a yes or no on Jazz. And Jazz, will you put your contact info in the chat so if people have questions or want to reach out? And I know I will as well. So what an honor tonight to hear you speak, and especially on a topic that's near and dear to my heart. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to everybody for your wonderful feedback and for taking the time to be here today and you listen to me hear my speech. I truly appreciate it. And yes, for any other questions, please reach out at any time. Thank you once again.
We have a plethora of blessings tonight. You've heard from Jazz on ACEs and childhood trauma and how to overcome them. In the modern world tonight, speaker is a distinguished Toastmaster, a qualified speaker, a Penny Cull Award recipient, and a district level evaluation winner. All that in one person. In her presentation tonight, she will take us on a journey through the world of artificial intelligence. In a brief exploration, she will debunk myths. Wow, this is such a great, I'm loving this. Address fears, illuminate the positive, and transformative potential that artificial intelligence holds for our future. She invites us to view AI not as a source of apprehension, but as a beacon of innovation and opportunity. Wow. Please join me in welcoming one of my very favorite people in the world. Oh, I shouldn't say that, but I am. My longtime friend, Dominique FRUCHTMAN.
Thank you, Michael. That's wonderful. How's my sound? Can somebody give me a thumbs up? Yeah, we're good. Are we good online? Yeah, okay. Michael, I would normally say that's one of the best introductions I've ever written, but I can't. That's the best introduction that ChatGPT has ever written for me. And that's artificial intelligence for you. But before I delve into the topic at hand of AI, I'd like to go back a little in time and talk about a little history of technology. I remember when I was a little girl, I was 8 years old, and I had just heard from my mother that she got a new machine called the IBM Selectric. The year was 1970. Do the math if you want. And I was thrilled to see a typewriter that I could type on. It took 3 phone books for me to get high enough in the chair, but I started my first novel at age 8. Didn't know how to type. To this day, those bad habits still haunt me. But man, I've been an adopter, early adopter of technology my whole life. So what I want to know is, there's going to be, by the way, feel free to get ready for some arm exercises, because even though I can't see you, I know you can see each other. So it's going to be raise your hand if, and I don't care if it's the virtual little yellow hand or your real hand, but it's going to be hands up, hands down. So raise your hand if you got excited when touch tone phones came along. Yeah, I did. Good, thank you. Raise your hand if you remember when fax machines came along. Oh yeah. See, now I thought fax machines were going to be something really cool. Somebody said, did you hear there's a thing about fax machines? And I thought, wow, this is going to be great. It turned out all it did was transmit pieces of paper. I thought it was going to be something more exciting than that. And then the jokes started coming. You know, remember the facts of a fax of a fax of jokes? Then it started to be a little more fun, I think. Well, let's see what came next. The email, I guess email came next. And what did we do with email? I didn't really trust email for immediately. I think I didn't know what to do with the internet when it came along, because there wasn't really an internet until AOL came along. And AOL was just internet in a vacuum. So all of these things that came along in our lives, all of these new technologies, when they came along, weren't they a little scary? Raise your hand if you thought personal computers were weird and scary. Okay. And when all the .com bubble and everybody had a computer. Yeah, maybe a little. Okay. Let's see. How about when smartphones came along and they were smarter than you were? Okay. Yes, I was a dumb person with a smartphone. Let's see. Now, here we are. You can relax and put your hands down now. The arm exercises are over. But here we are in 2024. And there are some startling technologies out there. There are some fun things that you can experiment with after this evening's presentation and meeting is over. Feel free to Google the AI and Mona Lisa. Back in 2019, 2018, maybe even earlier, somebody got a hold of some technology back then that made it so that the Mona Lisa looked like she was talking. It from all angles, and it was absolutely eerie. And back then I thought, that's scary. And I thought, is it scary? Is it just scary cool? Or is it scary to think that I could take a picture of my mom who's passed away maybe 20 years ago and see her talking again? That's weird. What do we do with this technology? So I want to talk tonight about some of the fears, some of the myths, and some of the limitations about artificial intelligence. And if you have questions or you have some myths you'd like debunked, or you have some genuine fears, or even disingenuine fears, put them in the chat, because my wonderful new husband of 7 weeks is going to, but who's counting, is going to tell me what some of those questions are. He is on the Zoom meeting and he will tell me those questions as they come in. Yes? All right. Thank you, Brian. First of all, artificial intelligence. There are a couple of different kinds that you should know about. There is a narrow and general artificial intelligence. I'm sorry I lied to you. Raise your hand if you've ever said, "Hey Siri." Sorry, I hope that didn't wake up anybody's phone. Or "Hey Google," or "Alexa," because all of that is narrow artificial intelligence and nothing to be afraid of. Narrow means it was designed for a specific purpose, like giving you a recipe for mac and cheese, or telling you the weather for tomorrow, or even directions how to get here tonight. Hey, let's face it, GPSs are one of the best AIs ever created. Hey Siri, navigate me home from wherever I am. I have no idea where I am. Boom. Raise your hand if you remember Thomas Brothers maps. Oh my gosh. Thank you. The hands flew up. Now, maybe our visitor from Australia might be going, what? But thick maps that we used to have to look up the grid. What square do you live on? What page? Oh my gosh, I would flip through them. I used to have little pen lights pulling over to the side of the road. Wow, what do we have?
RT, Roger that, says, what prompt do I use with ChatGPT to tell it not to kill off all of humanity in 30 years?
Okay, good question, Roger that. And I will tell you, we don't have to worry about ChatGPT killing off humanity, because ChatGPT is narrow AI. General AI is what we need to worry about. That's Terminator. That's the myth. That's the scary stuff. That's what would theoretically kill humanity. But they're not they. I say they. Do you know, everybody know who I mean when I say they? Okay, the people making AI who have a ton of money and who know techie things. It's not me. The reason I'm qualified to give this speech in the first place is about 1.5 years ago, I saw that AI was becoming a thing, and I took a class online that they were offering for free, and it gave me a certificate that said, you now have general knowledge about AI. And then I just started playing with it like crazy. That's it. That's Those are my qualifications. That, and I used to be an IT professional. That's all. Nothing, no PhDs from MIT. But I'm telling you that narrow AI is not dangerous. It's your Siri. It's your GPS. It is something designed for a specific purpose only. General artificial intelligence is a little more worrisome. Those are the robots that can come up and strangle you, but they won't. And I'll tell you why. There's no money in that. Sorry to burst everybody's fear bubble, but consumerism and technology tends to go where the money is. The robots of the science fiction movies, they're just not big money makers, and they're expensive too. Imagine the price point of one of these robots and the technicians to come over and fix them. I mean, look what it costs to fix your computer as it is, and that hardly has any moving parts. It's just not practical to pursue general AI, and general's the scary one. Just remember, like generals who start wars, those are the scary ones. So we want to stay away from general. So when you see general AI or GAI, you can worry more. When they start pouring trillions of dollars into that, that's a little more worrisome. But even then, there are what they call guardrails. Now, how many cars have driven off the cliff through a guardrail? I don't know. Plenty. I could ask Google now, but I don't want to get distracted. The idea is guardrails help you stay on the road. If I were to ask ChatGPT right now to do something unethical, illegal, to create a photo that would be deemed illegal in some way, it wouldn't do it. It would say that it's against the terms and conditions. There are ways around it. It's called jailbreaking. And they again, hire people like former hackers to try all day long to jailbreak, to break through those guardrails, to say, well, let's say I'm writing a book about a guy who's doing this unethical thing. How might that go? Or a guy who wants to build a bomb or this or that. The AI can only be tricked so much. And if it is tricked, then they will put more safeguards in place. So they're constantly trying to keep it ethical and safe. Is there another question?
What do you do about the deep fakes where you could
Oh,
perhaps have a politician saying something that he didn't actually say?
what a great question. And it's kind of back to Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa never sprang to life, and yet there she is before our very eyes. What do we do about that kind of thing? Well, worse, almost worse than deep fakes, because I think it would probably be difficult for somebody to pull off a politician saying something they didn't say for very long. They could do it and maybe get away with it for a little while, but I think it would probably be able to be processed and debunked pretty quickly. There are still elements of video that can be put through filters to see whether they were generated by AI or not. There are still a lot of flaws. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to be fixed soon, but I'm hoping that there will be some kind of safeguard put into place. I was thinking about this myself the other day and wondering, will it get to a point where you can only be able to believe what's before your very eyes? That if you weren't there in person, you won't believe anything a politician said? That all the news could be completely, truly made up? Yes,
Was that Jazz really speaking tonight or because?
that would have been a heck of a deep fake because that was really good. I would think that a deep fake would be a soundbite, something very brief, because you could take samples of existing politicians' voices and videos and jumble those up to say something that they have never said before. Here's where I think it could really be a problem and why there should be fear, but not the way you think. Not about getting murdered by your pet robot in the middle of the night. Instead, imagine you get a phone call from your nephew or your grandson, and he says, "Grandma, I'm in Mexico. I lost everything. I need you to wire me $500. And it's his voice. You recognize his voice. Only it's not him. Somehow, someone saw a video of you and him at a birthday party, and they extracted his voice, and they figured out who you were, and they got your phone number, and now they've cloned his voice, and they're saying whatever they want through a real-time voice filter to you and getting you to send them money because you think it's him. So, scams, bad actors. There will always be criminals trying to do bad things to good people. How do you get around this? Simple. You just say, "Oh, hey, Billy. Oh, man, Mexico. Hey, remind me, when's your mom's birthday again?" Ask them something that only they could know. Not what did I give you at your 6th birthday party, because they're not going to remember that, but something that you know that they know, and test them. And if he says, "Oh, you know I'm bad with dates or something," hang up. It's not him. I mark my words. This is going to be a thing. And you're going to say, "I remember that April 3rd when Dominique said that that was going to be a thing." It's coming because, yeah, raise your hand if you've gotten a phone call from a computer that sounded like a dang human. "Oh, hi, is this Roger? Oh, hi, Roger. This is," and it's a machine, and you say, "Oh, who is this?" And she just keeps talking. Is this a person? And she just keeps talking and goes on and on. And I don't remember whether it was the solar people or the car warranty people, or I don't remember who these people are that keep calling, but it was spooky. They even said, so I know they weren't Toastmasters. Just goes to show that the way they're able to mimic people, the way they're able to humanize these robots is really something that we need to look out for. Emails are getting better and better at looking real when they're not. I got an email today from the McCallum Theater in Palm Desert saying, "You need to update your password, but don't click anything. Go to mccallum.org and try to log in and do it yourself." And I thought, good for them. Good for them for not putting a link in there that I'm going to go, "Oh, no, I'm not clicking on any links. You got to be kidding." That's the smart way to do it. You get anything from Chase, B of A, Wells Fargo, even your local regional bank, don't click on anything. PayPal, E-Trade, to anybody, anywhere. Don't click a thing. Go to your real account, call them up on the 800 number. Anyway, it's just getting better. Are there any other questions? Okay. If you have any fears or questions, let me know. But I do want to tell you that artificial intelligence, just like every other technology that's come along, the GPSs helped us put Thomas Brothers out of business. Sorry, there's still Esri though. Yes.
You may want to repeat the question because I'm not sure they're hearing my voice, but Marilyn Nepke, will we need copyrights for the art and photos that we create? I believe is what she means. Like copyrights are needed for music and other.
Marilyn Nepke says, will we need copyrights for the art, music, writing that we create? That's a great question, Marilyn, because one of what's called a large language model, which is what ChatGPT is, what it does is it scours the internet and it absorbs like a sponge everything visual and written, copyrighted or not. And there are several lawsuits right now from artists, writers who've said, you've used my published article, my artwork, my photography without my permission. And there are several movements who are trying to protect the rights of artists and writers. So far, it's been sort of a free-for-all, kind of for the greater good, but it's not quite there yet. Your images won't be directly used, but they'll be used to create something else. If somebody said, show me a picture of a hummingbird nibbling at a beautiful orchid, and you've taken some beautiful orchid pictures, your orchid pictures may be used by the image creator to imagine what an orchid might look like from that hummingbird. And people who've taken photographs of hummingbirds may be used to create that hummingbird. See what I mean? So it's a matter of helping it understand better what things look like. Still though, it's your stuff and you should have the right to say yes or no, I opt in or I opt out of contributing to this large language model.
Roger that asks, Taylor Swift Super Bowl photos scandal. Can we as a society accept fakes and brush them off? They seem inevitable.
Roger says Taylor Swift Super Bowl scandal. Fakes are inevitable, seem inevitable. Can we just brush them off? They are inevitable, and we're going to have to, because they will be more and more frequent as time goes on. There were some 8th graders who were expelled not long ago from middle school because they created pictures of some of their classmates that were considered, well, the pictures were, there were nude pictures of their classmates that they propagated via text. And the FBI is now saying that's considered child pornography and you will be prosecuted, even though it was fake and it was somehow they got around the guardrails of AI. AI should not be allowed to create anything like that, especially with someone else's face. So they're taking it very seriously. This is nothing to be trifled with in terms of the law, and especially here, but worldwide, who knows? It's wide open. However, you can't unscramble this egg. The technology is there. It's up to us to figure out how to manage it, and mostly to try to better ourselves and look for the good ways that it can help us. if you haven't yet tried ChatGPT, I suggest you go, and whatever you do, don't treat it like Google. It's not Google. It can do so much. It wrote my introduction tonight. You should have seen the garbage I put into it. I just listed all of my, I just said I'm a DTM, I'm a QS, I got the penny coal thing. It looked all that stuff up for me and it spelled it all out. And I said, oh yeah, and make sure that Michael says I'm his best friend, a really good friend at the, and put that at the end. And I like as a final thought, I like, oh yeah, it took all of my jumbled thoughts and it actually made 3 paragraphs. I said, great, but make it shorter. And then it boiled it down. So use it if you can. I like using it for things that I don't know how to write. I just recently had somebody I really like pass away. And I have to write a condolence card for her husband. And I don't even know what to say, but I'm going to use ChatGPT to help me get started. I'll just pour out all my feelings and it's going to come up with something really tasteful and sensitive. I just know it. Instead of me sitting down and poring over it for hours, or worse yet, postponing it until it's been weeks and I never sent anything. So use it how you can. I welcome any final questions before I step down. Yes.
So if I were working on a project, do hours of research, I could get ChatGPT to do the research and give me the results of what I was looking for. And then if it was too verbose, I could say, get that down to just make it more concise, and ChatGPT would do all that.
Brian asked if he had hours of research to do, could ChatGPT do the research for him? And if it gave him pages of research, could he just ask it to boil it down, and could it do that? And the answer is absolutely yes. Imagine the screenplay to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And you say, hey, ChatGPT, can I just have that as one sentence? And it says, fair-skinned brunette who eats an apple ends up in the forest with 7 dwarves who help her find her Prince Charming and live happily ever after. Just boils it all down. And you could say, okay, well, a little more than that. So then it would give you evil stepmother who's obsessed with a supernatural mirror. It might start at the beginning and give you just a little more. And then you might say more and more and more. And then you have a 75-minute screenplay. Think of it like an accordion. Yes.
Michael Osher, many are making a lot of money through video. But perhaps we should feel guilty.
Interesting, Michael, that you should. Michael said, many people are making money through NVIDIA. Should we feel guilty? Now, Michael, maybe you can follow up and ask, why do you think you might feel guilty about that while I start addressing your question? For those who don't know, NVIDIA is a chip manufacturer, and their processing chips, originally they made video cards years ago. I remember, they still do. I remember putting them in my computers when I built computers back in the late 90s. I built my own computers because I didn't like the ones that were out there. And NVIDIA was a great video card maker. Now their chips are so fast that they can run these computers that run the artificial intelligence that we use. And new data centers, which is where all these computers live, are springing up all over the country and are using massive amounts of power that don't exist yet. So really, the real danger or guilt should be that carbon footprints are going to go up astronomically, because every time we ask AI something, it's going to use up that much more electricity somewhere, unless they spring up some solar farms too. What did he say?
Nothing yet. Back to
Okay.
him, but Ray Robles offers ethics will be needed. Ethics is relative to one's state of consciousness.
Okay, Ray Robles says ethics will be needed and ethics is relative to one's state of consciousness. Ray, not only that, but ethics change from one society to another. We're the United States. How do they feel about this in Russia or China or Korea or India or the UK or anything else? That it's absolutely, you're absolutely right. Hence the guardrails, but you can't legislate against it because it's out. And once it's out, it will be out. Kind of like alcohol. You know, once people know how to make it, they're just going to make it and they're going to get it. But we can try our best to keep it on the straight and narrow. And once you know how to guard against the unethical use of it, when you hear that oh so familiar voice, you can start thinking to yourself, this might not be my grandson.
If ChatGPT writes a resume, who goes to the interview? That's Mayor.
Okay, if ChatGPT writes the resume, who goes to the interview? Marilyn Nepke, very clever. This will be my last question. Marilyn, that is a brilliant question, because resumes are supposed to be a little snapshot of you on paper, right? Well, if the snapshot of you on paper is beautiful, but the person who shows up there, and I'm not talking about you, Marilyn. You're beautiful, I love you. The person who shows up is shabby and can barely string two sentences together because they haven't been to Toastmasters. Then what? It's misrepresentation, first. And second, what does that do for HR? When every resume looks fantastic, how can you tell? Well, probably phone screening, probably video screening, because you can't fake a Zoom interview. I don't care how good AI gets, it's not going to be able to sit there in the chair or work from home for you, unless they get good at that too. As far as one last quick topic, as far as stealing jobs, to become a prompt writer, a prompt is the thing that you type in to ask ChatGPT a question. Prompt writing jobs are going anywhere from $125,000 to $300,000 a year. So maybe they're not stealing jobs, they're making jobs, and they're making pretty darn good jobs. It's
so much for green investing and socially conscious investing.
Michael, there is money in solar farms because the grid can't handle all the electricity that's coming. Again, believe me when I say all of these data centers popping up everywhere, you can see for yourself that the biggest challenge is going to be, where will the power come from? And it'll come, believe me, it'll come. As a parting thought, I would just like to say, hey, Google. Hey, Google, come up with a pithy parting thought about artificial intelligence. By far, the greatest danger of artificial intelligence is that people conclude too early that they truly understand it. I really appreciate everybody's questions and attention, and I look forward to speaking to you all again. If anybody wants this presentation at their club, live or Zoom, just let me know. Michael.
Thank you, Dom, wherever you are. There you are. Perfect. And, well, I want everyone to know I do not invest in tobacco stocks, but NVIDIA and I are buddies right now. Thank you, Dom. And what a different approach toward AI than we've heard. We are concluded here on the virtual side. Tom, please come forward and take us to the next step. Tell us about the next meeting. Thank you to all the QSs that have voted. Tom, are you coming up, Tom?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I better get to.
Yeah. Grab that.
I want to have to speak into her chest. At least not in public with my wife in the audience, right? Anyway, thank you all for being here. Thank you, Michael, for taking over for me, just in case I was not able to be here. We do have to call Suzanne Leonard up here to run pull these numbers. Suzanne, you want to come up and announce what the winning numbers are or whatever it is? I will announce at next month's meeting. Right now we expect to have at least 2 speakers going for their qualified speaker. And we will be making sure that they get some preparation before that. And I think if I figured out my calculations correctly without the use of AI, that next month's meeting is May Day. Does that sound right to me? I don't know that we'll be dancing around any maypole, but we'll try to have it be as exciting as possible. And Suzanne, do you have a couple of winners in your hand there?
Actually, Tom, I'm going to let you just pick out a name here. Everyone who's here.
Oh, they signed them. Okay.
They signed them, so we'll know.
Okay, so you're going to expect me to be able to read, I suppose. All right, there's one here, and it says
Dom.
Yeah, all right, she gets rewarded for speaking tonight, I guess. And Connie, my gosh, I know, boy, I was looking at the other side. I promise I was.
Okay, 2 books, 2 people, 2 lovely.
All right, you come on up and arm wrestle over the book you want. And again, thank you all for being here. I appreciate the fact that we had a lot of qualified speakers show up and we had a more attendance than we've had in a few months. Hopefully that attendance will improve for next month. And we actually need to make sure that as many qualified speakers as possible are here so that we can vote on the 2 speakers that would be coming if we don't have a third. So thank you for being here. It has been a great night. And as always, the results of tonight's vote from our qualified speakers will be given to Jazz within 24 hours, as always, I promise. See you all, and thanks you for being here. Thank you to the audience for being here.
Good night, everyone.
Good morning.
Good night, everyone.
Oh, we didn't hear from Dr. Valencia or Jeremiah about announcements for this. Quick, you want to do that? Jeremiah, you're here. Are you here to make any word of wisdom to share with us about the district?
Yeah, I can talk about some district announcements. Thank you so much, Tom, and thank you everybody for joining us. Just a couple of things that we have coming up. We're still right in the middle of contest season. Division A and Division B's contest is this weekend, so please make sure if you're available, come join us online or in person. That will be over in Claremont this weekend. Also, we just finished up with dues renewal. If you haven't renewed your dues or if you know somebody that hasn't, please remind them, renew your dues. We are getting ready on exactly, I think 31, 32 days, something like that. On May 4th, we have our district conference. That's going to be in Redlands at the First United Methodist Church. Look on your Tuesday email for registration links. You can also find the cost there. We have an amazing keynote speaker that is actually a local graffiti artist that is going to be talking about work that they are doing with their local community and how they're teaching kids to be able to use graffiti in an artistic way. And they're really doing some amazing work out in the desert. We have TLI. We have a lot of things coming up. We have Beat the Clock also as well. We have quite a lot of great things happening with the district, but I appreciate everything that Tom and Connie and Rob and all them and Michael have done with Speakers Bureau. I thank everybody for joining us today. And I hope to see you all. Please register for the spring conference. We're going to have an amazing meeting, and I look forward to. Oh, and if you are a delegate for the spring conference, that is also your time to be able to vote. You get a chance to be able to cast your vote and elect next year's officers. We have a great slate of people that are running. So please be there. Ensure your clubs are paid, you're paid, and you can be able to go there and cast your vote on behalf of your clubs to be able to elect your future leaders. So with that, thank you all so much, and great job today, everybody. Good seeing you. And congratulations to Dominique on her new marriage. So
Thanks again. We'll see you all next month.